Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the session this afternoon. My name is Arun, and I welcome you all on behalf of Jamboree Education on this special session on careers after masters from United States of America. I hope I'm audible and visible. If you can give me a quick check on the chat box if I'm audible and visible. Great. Thank you so much for the responses. So we have an illustrious panel on the session today. But before I move into the session, I would request all of you to quickly take a minute and put in the chat box which course are you currently studying, what year are you part of. That will help us customize the talk in a better way. That will help the panelists to give you detailed information and some nuances related to what milestone you are currently chasing. So if we can quickly have that response on the chat box, I'll take a pause for a minute. Okay, great. So we have fairly wide representation here. Most of you are from engineering backgrounds, mostly in third year, but I can see a lot of you from BBA, some of you are from biotechnology, some of you are also from arts backgrounds, some of you are from MSc courses. So great to have a wide variety of audience. That really feels good. So to start off, let me take a minute to introduce Jamboree here. I can see a lot of you are from non-Jamboree ecosystem. So let me just take a minute to introduce Jamboree. Jamboree is a 27-year-old organization. And since these 27 years, we have been training students on exams like GRE, GMAT, IELTS, TOEFL. We also work very, very closely with students to help them build their profile for applying to the universities abroad, to help them send the strongest possible applications. In fact, 25% of our students score more than 700 on GMAT, and close to 20% of our students score more than 325 on a GRE. So we have a very, very Indian way of handling these exams like GRE, GMAT. And we also have a very strong online presence, by the way. We are training students online for last 7-8 years. And so when the pandemic struck in 2020, the shift to the online platform for teaching was very, very smooth. So we are available both face-to-face in classrooms and in live modes to train students on all these exams, right? Moving ahead, if any one of you wants to schedule a GRE exam preparation demo class, or if you want to get your profile assessed, you want to speak to a admissions counselor related to what kind of options you can explore, how you should prepare ahead, what kind of roadmap you should prepare. If you want to schedule a discussion on that, please put your number in the chat box. That somebody from our team will connect to you in the next 24 hours. I'll take a pause here for a minute. And if you want to put in your numbers, please do that. And then we will move on to the session at hand. I'm taking a pause here. Great, a lot of responses. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the session. So I'll invite first of all, Tanya to introduce herself. Tanya, if you can do the introduction.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mr. Arun. Hi, everyone. And again, thank you all for joining us here for this wonderful talk organized by Jamboree. I am Tanya Bajaj, and I work with ETS in the capacity of the Client Relations Director at ETS India. In my role here, I closely work with stakeholders, various stakeholders like learning partners, government bodies, and education institutions. In my free time, I usually like to spend my time with my daughter, or you'll actually catch me in a corner with a book. So that's a little bit about me, and I'll pass it on to the next person.
Great, Tanya. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you. Now I'll invite Shanti ma'am. Shanti ma'am, if you can introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Arun, and thank you, Jamboree, for organizing this great session. I welcome all the participants today. I to recall the comment that was made on a Sunday afternoon that you're spending this time. That shows your interest to learn more about higher education and the opportunities it has for you. Uh, I'm Shanti Mohan and I work with the Education USA Center at Chennai. Education USA is the official source of information on US higher education, and we are a US government supported body. I've been in this organization for the past 8 years, and that's all my experience with the education sphere, I must say. Prior to which, I was a software developer and a trainer. And I think my pastime, if you ask me, I love chatting with students because I feel they are the bundle of energy and you give us a lot of inspiration, and that helps us to keep track of all the developments that's happening around in various fields. Okay, I think that's about me. Thank you for joining us once again today, and I hope to have a great conversation with all of you.
Thank you, Shanti ma'am, for the time. Thank you so much for sparing your time for students. We also have Mr. Siddharth Iyer from ETS. So Siddharth, if you can quickly introduce yourself.
Hey, hi everyone. Thanks so much for joining on this Sunday afternoon, to learn more about tests and assessments and also about partners Jamboree in terms of how they support us. Just to give you a little bit of background into what ETS is. So we are a test and assessment company among the largest non-for-profit organization and assessments company globally. And we've been developing the TOEFL and the GRE test, which have been here for well over 70 years. And our products, which are developed for testing and assessments, have been based on a lot of rigorous research and the belief in the power of learning. And without a doubt, it does contain, one of the world's most trusted assessments that you will get to see out there. One fact that I'm very proud of as students, when you prepare for these high-stake tests and assessments, you learn English, you learn key skills which are required for you to succeed in your academic life. And I hope the team at Jamboree will be able to help you in that endeavor as well. So wishing you all the very best and a good learning session this afternoon. So, thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you. So let's deep dive into the session at hand. So I'll start off by setting the context by trying to answer the basic question that what can a GRE score do for you, right? So of course, GRE is one of the most widely accepted standardized test, and it will help you to get into the master's program in your current field. So I saw a lot of you are students of ECE, some of you are in computer science, some of you are doing biotechnology. So the first and foremost extension is that you can use the GRE score to get into a master's program into the field that you're currently studying. That's a very, very straightforward extension. Also, a lot of you might be wanting to pursue PhD programs, pursue the doctoral programs. So PhD programs require a good GRE score, and hence a good GRE score is a very, very important ingredient towards making a successful PhD application. But there is a common myth that GRE is only applicable for PhD programs or master's programs. This is not the case, and we'll build on this in this session further. But just to tell you, GRE is now more and more accepted by top management programs in the world. More and more management programs, MBA programs are accepting the GRE score. Not only MBA, but programs like Masters in Management, which are made for students fresh out of college or people who have maximum up to 2 years of work ex. If they want to get into a management program, they choose Masters in Management. And GRE score is accepted in a lot of Masters in Management programs. And as we are moving ahead, more and more programs in management, in MBA, are accepting the GRE score. So GRE can help you, of course, with your master's, with your PhD. But if you are an aspirant to get into a master's in management or a MBA program, you can very much take the route of writing a GRE exam, getting a good GRE score, and submitting it to the university for your applications, right? So since GRE is becoming more and more acceptable across the world, across multitude of programs, I will now invite Shanti ma'am to shed more light about what kind of master's programs can we look at. You know, the world is changing and it has changed more after COVID. There are many new age careers available. Lot of lucrative master's programs are available now, which we are not aware about completely. So over to Shanti ma'am to shed some light on that.
Thank you, Arunji. Just allow me to share the screen in a second. I hope everyone is able to see the screen. Okay.
Yes, we can. Yes.
Yeah, that's a great question, or rather, that's a great point for discussion. I would like to begin with just give you the background to the kind of students who are currently in the US and how or what kind of education really influences them. So if you look at the recent what we call as an open doors report, which is the one of the important statistics that we receive from an organization called Institute for International Education. This is the widely available report for anything related to student mobility to USA. On that note, currently there are 9 lakh plus international students are pursuing various levels of their higher education. And among them, if you notice, 18% are from India, and which is in terms of numbers, it's 1,67,000 plus. To give you a better example, out of every 6 international students that you may meet, one will definitely be an Indian student. So that's how it is represented. And also there is a good economic impact of these students who are going to US, and they also generate, if you see the graphics that shows the amount of economic impact by those students. So what do these students really do pursue in the US? So this is like a picture where it shows the most sought after field of study that the international students choose. But if you look at, half of the population prefers to go for programs that are STEM oriented. I'm sure most of you here are aware what does a STEM stands for. It is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. If you look at the engineering is always holding a higher percentage, and then comes math, computing, business studies, social sciences, etc. It doesn't mean that people do not study things like arts or art related program or some other humanity subjects or something like a public policy and those sort of things. This is only gives us a larger representation of those field of study people really do look for. But there are also many interdisciplinary fields which are now available for students to seek out to either science-oriented interdisciplinary, or they can also combine humanities with mathematics and humanities with say even technology. So there are many, as Arunji rightly pointed out, there are many emerging programs available for students. One thing at this point I would like to highlight is the USP of a US higher education is that it offers you a lot of flexibility. In the sense, assuming that you are an engineering student now, but you have a great passion towards, let's say, something to do with digital filmmaking, or you want to become something like a theater person, it's not something uncommon in the US. The universities definitely give you the scope to switch over fields from what you studied in bachelor's. You can probably go for entirely a new field in the master's. However, you need to sort of express, or you need to have authentic information to show how you developed interest in a different field. Okay, keeping that in mind, students can think about numerous interdisciplinary fields. In fact, you can even frame your own program if that university offers you that flexibility. This is the scenario of Indian students currently in the US. If you look at about 11, close to 12% pursue programs related to business and management. Of course, engineering and math overtakes it by probably a 0.8% or so. So this is the scenario currently, and I think this will be quite encouraging and for you to think about fields that are related to STEM, or find humanities program which are currently designated as STEM. You may wonder why I'm repeating this term STEM quite often, right? So I'm just going to give you some benefits of doing STEM education in the US. Again, this is only to just introduce the STEM related options. There are students who can very well go for non-STEM programs as well. You will still get the same kind of opportunities. But the only difference that you may find in that is a STEM designated program helps you to get a longer stay back option after completing your program, that is close to 36 months, whereas a non-STEM student would get a default 12-month stay. If you look at STEM is the field where a lot of research happening, so higher funding opportunities, and most of these are very innovative research, and you have access to this cutting edge technology. Plus, most of the STEM programs do have a component called curricular practical training, or in other words, internships. Plus, they also build programs where the internships are mandatory, so that it is also framed as cooperative education. That is, you also learn something while you also apply what you learned. That's what we mean by a cooperative education. The advantage with all this, when a student is working on an internship or a cooperative education, there is always a remuneration attached to it. So that helps the student to sustain the future semesters, either by supporting their living expenses, or if they are doing extraordinarily well, they may be even sometime recommended for a fee waiver, etc. So those are the advantages in the STEM field. The non-STEM fields also the equal advantage, but maybe they are structured in a different way. And some of the non-STEM programs definitely do require a lot of maybe a work or professional experience, sometimes like a MBA program. But to say here, some of the MBA programs are also now STEM designated. So you still get that advantage of doing an MBA program, which is management, not a science basically. But as Arunji rightly pointed out, MS in management program may be designated as a STEM for you, and that gives you these options. So how do you look for whether the kind of program that I'm going for is STEM or not? There is a what we call as a classification of instructional programs, CIP we call it. Every time when a university floats a program, they have to have an associated classification of instruction program code, what we call as a CIP code. The CIP code determines whether it's a STEM program or a non-STEM program. I mean, it's easy to identify from that whether it is a STEM or a non-STEM. If you would like to know how to get the STEM list, there is this link that I have provided here. I think after my presentation, I will also paste it in the chat box. This is under the Student Exchange Visitor Information System website, where it gives you the list of programs that are designated as STEM. Talking about various emerging interdisciplinary programs, if you see, I have got two lists here. The one on the left hand side is it's a direct science and technology related program, whereas the one on the right side has a combination of humanities and technology programs. Many of you would be aware of the engineering management, and robotics can be just a standalone robotics program, or you could do something like a medical robotics, agricultural robotics, or even any other infrastructure robotics is another one which is a lot of students plan to pursue. And alongside that, many of them even combine artificial intelligence and machine learning, or in a broader spectrum, a computer science. So within computer science, you can have as many specializations as possible, but they are not interdisciplinary by nature. The third one, audio engineering. This is for students who have probably done a physical science, like a physics program, but interested more in acoustics and those sort of things. Audio engineering can be a great option for you. This is also a good program for students who are doing electronics or electrical engineering, but has passion towards music and has a lot of interest related to acoustics, can think about this. Biophysics is another emerging program. Biophysics also has a lot of extension towards space and aerospace programs. Bioengineering is one of the most sought after STEM interdisciplinary STEM program, where it has a mixture of math, science in the sense pure science, physics, chemistry, and also biology to some extent. In the bioengineering program, the student can be an innovator, the student can be a researcher, or the student can be a mere solution provider. So it gives you the scope to choose what you want to be, and accordingly you can take concentrations in the bioengineering program. We do see a lot of chemical engineering students and even material science or students who are interested in material science do seek out to this bioengineering program, where you provide solutions to people. Like suppose somebody wants an artificial limb, or if you are going to use a material which is going to replace your ligament, all this sort of things come out of this bioengineering, and very interesting combination of subjects that it uses. Entertainment technology. So this is again a combination of computer science and your artistic thing and virtual reality, 3D imaging, everything put together comes under the entertainment technology. More interestingly, if you go to an entertainment technology program, you will find students coming from different walks of the entertainment industry. Somebody could be a theater person, or somebody could be a person who is more interested in creating the caricatures or background images or lighting. It's such a specialized field, but it gives scopes for people from different walks of life to get in. And then finally, the engineering physics. So this is where it's a very good combination of solution, application, and the theory all put together comes under the engineering physics. On the other side, if you look at, you can combine economics and computer science. This is typically a computational aspect to it. I'm sure all of you are very familiar with the terms data analytics, business intelligence. So primarily all of them, though they sound like a management program, or typically the analytics comes under consulting and other things, the basics for all of them is mathematics. So what I would like to really emphasize here is, as a student, you can do any sort of combinations provided you're very strong in your mathematics. Maybe there are questions coming up saying, oh, I did just economics in my undergraduation, or I just did psychology, but I'm interested in doing things like cognitive science and computational aspects of it. Then you need to really strengthen your math background. Obviously, you can take extra online courses to do that, or you may resort to proving your numerical ability through GRE and other things. I'm waiting to hear more from my colleagues from ETS and also from Jamboree to talk about the importance of taking GRE whenever you have such combination of subjects being taken as your master's, or at the master's level or at the PhD level. So the other, actuarial science, is one where it's more on the risk analysis and everything. That's again a most sought after field now. Innovation and entrepreneurship is one of the most interesting program you can find if even if you're an engineering student, you can, but you are more interested in running your own business, and you are a kind that coming up with a lot of innovative strategies and stuff, then this sort of program would be very ideal for you to choose from. Financial engineering is also like finance with a computational background, helping people to like either simulate a financial model for them or help them find a solution for their financial problems. Digital marketing, we all know that it is a core humanities oriented subject, but digital marketing can be a STEM designated one, because it just not only talks about marketing. When we talk about digital, we all know how we even a one simple post that you do on your Facebook, you want to know how many people viewed it and how many people it reached to, right? So the number becomes an important element of anything that we do these days, right? So anything number, obviously math is the background to it. So digital marketing is also one such emerging trend that we are seeing, and a lot of students who do their even visual communication, or people who do journalism and marketing communication, those people, we see that they are moving on to the digital marketing, but all of them stay for 1 year, strengthen their profile with more math oriented things, definitely do take a GRE, and then they apply for these programs. And finally, cognitive and computational science is more related to, we all know that AI is nothing but it replicates the complicated thinking process of a human brain, right? So psychology is one field where it understands, it's try and understand the human behavior, and cognitive science is a component of it. If you are able to understand why human behave like this, and for say a particular scenario, you can build that scenario into a robo or whatever. So you are trying to replicate the human behavior into it. So this is where your artificial intelligence and machine learning, data modeling, everything comes handy in this sort of programs. I think that would have given students an idea about how all these courses are work. And I think I'm also going to show one last slide related to career planning. One advice for everyone here is, please go after your passion and your strength. Do not choose a course just because you're going to get a job, right? So while studying the course, unless and until you put your soul and life to it, you are not going to come out of with the flying colors, right? Obviously, the good profile that you have as a student is the one which is going to help you land in a good career as well. So first assess what you really need, and then see what are the future prospects that particular field of study is offering to you. I have just given you a few things here, 2 references that the students can always go and refer to. One is there is this University of California at Berkeley. If you look at the career.berkeley.edu, they give information about a lot of emerging career fields. So that would give you an idea what that field is all about. What are the various options you may have if you complete, let's say, a master level program in that, and where do you think your career track will do? The second choice that I would recommend is OStarNet, which is like it's a Department of Labor, US government's Department of Labor website, where for every designation that you may think of, suppose you want to become a data analyst, if you go to that website and search for data analyst, it will give you what is the minimum educational qualification required, what are the skill sets that this particular job requires, does it need a experience as what, and what will be your entry level position, how will you grow in that career, what will be your expected income, all that will be given for you. And strictly this is only for the US, and it does not represent any other country. Okay, so these two things will help you a lot. And the third thing, I always recommend students to visit the LinkedIn LinkedIn profiles. So if you want to see, even if you search as data analyst, it's going to give you a huge list of people who are currently data analyst. Just go and see their profile, what have they done and how they have gone through this process, or where are they currently now in their career. All these things will help you to definitely do a complete check on the decision that you're going to make, because this is very expensive too, right? So this will help you to make the well-informed decision and choose the right field that will help you grow further. I'm sorry, I've taken a little more extra time, and I hope it's fine. I think I'll stop sharing my screen at this point of time.
Thank you, ma'am. I would want to, ma'am, add a follow-up question to what you just said. Like you said that USA gives a lot of flexibility in terms of students probably going on to make their own programs also, right? We get a lot of questions from students like who are studying, let's say, mechanical engineering. And since data analytics is the buzzword nowadays, so how easy or difficult is it for a student to go from a mechanical engineering to a data analytics? Or if you can give some any such combinations which are possible, but student might want to deep dive into developing more evidences of real interest in those fields.
Exactly. I mean, that's a wonderful question. And in fact, most of the time, we also get it. See, I would like to reiterate, as I mentioned at the beginning, that US allows flexibility. At the same time, it also expects that the students show a profile which clearly indicates the interest to shift the field. Okay. It's very difficult for anyone to think about to show an interest when you're moving from mechanical engineering to data analytics. So the best way to do this is don't rush to apply for your master's program soon after completing your mechanical engineering. Do look out first, what are the coursework the university prescribes for a data analytics program, and how much of those math related program you have already completed under your mechanical engineering, and do equip yourself with programs like Python, R, or Tableau. All these things are the jargon or the basic requirement for most of the data analytics work. So if you're able to do all these what we call the prerequisite coursework either through online, and it would be great to look for online programs that are offered directly by the US universities, which are credit bearing. Credit is one of the important terms most of the universities look for in the US. So if you already have either a great certification or a credit bearing program, that will help you to showcase, yes, I have a lot of interest towards this field, and that's why I have taken a break from my mechanical engineering field and I've added all this profile, and now I'm more keen to dive deep into the subject of data analytics. This is one path. And wherever possible, like at the end of your second year or third year, if you already have that idea of shifting field, this is where you need to judiciously look for internships or some kind of even training programs that would give you introduction to data analytics or something, whichever field you really want to shift to, and that gives you like sort of a very genuine and a seamless transition to the new field that you are looking for. The third option that I would recommend is sometimes the engineering management program, many mechanical engineering students shift to that field because that gives them a right combination of management and engineering. You can also look into the university website to understand how much of flexibility that the university gives you to take programs from different departments. We have also seen in the past students, suppose to complete your master, you need only 30 credits. But whereas if the university allows you to take program from different departments, a lot of students take some extra 6 or 8 credits from this computer science department to cope for the data analytics as well. Many engineering organization also require data analytics, and with your mechanical engineering background and this data analytics, you can definitely do well without doing too much of changeover in the subject. I hope that answers the question.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for that. I'll just quickly build on something which ma'am said related to STEM. STEM is very, very popular, gaining more popularity. Reason being, there are some very, very distinct advantages if you follow a STEM program. Like, for example, usually when you go to study in USA, you get a time period of 12 months to stay back. Ma'am in her slide showed you when you study a STEM program, you are allowed to stay back for 36 months. So you get additional 24 months of a stay back period if you do a STEM program. And that has a great impact on the jobs that you get. I'll explain in a minute. Let's say I am a student and I have done a non-STEM program. I do a literature program. So my stay back period or my period of stay back in USA is 12 months, which is called OPT, optional practical training. And if you do a STEM program, your stay back period is 36 months. Your OPT is 36 months, 3 years. So if you want to do jobs in US, you need H-1B visas. And H-1B visa is given every year once through a lottery. That lottery happens once a year. So now relate back to the example that I said. If I am a non-STEM student, I can stay back in US for just 1 year. That means I get only one chance to participate in that H-1B lottery. If I get my visa, then that's great. Otherwise, I have to come back. But if you are a STEM student, you stay back in US for 3 years. That means you are able to participate in the H-1B lottery 3 times. So you get 3 additional chances to participate in the H-1B lottery. Currently, United States gives 85,000 H-1B visas every year. 60% of those come to Indians, and 70% of jobs that are being created in US are all in STEM fields. So you see the entire tech ecosystem is being headed by Indians, or Indians are doing great. That's not by default, it's by design, because they are attracting students from India who are good in science, good in numbers, to come and stay back more, and they would offer those jobs and these additional 24 months so that you can participate in H-1B lottery. So be mindful of these things when you finalize your curriculums, when you decide what program to go, because you can do a MBA in business analytics and it will be a STEM tag program, right? And you can take advantage of both the MBA curriculum and the STEM field requirements that they give. So be mindful of that. Moving ahead, let's quickly look at what are the criteria of admission for university courses. All these courses that ma'am had explained, how do universities take intakes for these courses? The admission processes to Indian universities is very, very different as compared to what you find when you apply to United States. Indian admission process is a very academic process. You have exams like GATE, you have exams like CAT, where you need to first showcase your academic prowess, and that's the bedrock of your admissions. But when you apply to United States, it is not just the academics. It is a multitude of criteria that you will need to prepare on and submit your applications. And let's take a minute to give those criteria. So if you look at this slide, the first and foremost thing is that we will need to showcase our proficiency academically. Academic record, that means what you are doing in your undergraduate course as of now is going to be very important. So it goes without saying that you need to focus and try and maximize your undergraduate scorecards, your GPAs, your percentage. You also will be asked to appear for a standardized exam called GRE. GRE is an aptitude and reasoning based exam, and we will soon have Tanya speaking more on GRE. But GRE is a standardized exam accepted globally. I am underlining the word standardized because it helps the universities differentiate between students coming from different backgrounds. For example, if so many students apply from India, somebody can be from top tier A universities and institutions like IITs. Somebody might be from a tier B kind of institution. Somebody might be from a tier B institution, but very good rank holder. Somebody might be from IIT, but not very great academically. So that is so much diversity creates a confusion as to how do the universities distinguish, differentiate between two people. And that is where GRE helps. GRE comes into being, because GRE is a standardized test. Anybody taking a GRE anywhere in the world, it is clear that 305 on a GRE is lesser than 320. So irrespective of whether you are taking the exam from India or Asia anywhere, or US or UK, or from any other system in the world, anybody scoring a 320 GRE has done better on GRE as compared to somebody who has scored a 305. And since it's a standard test, it becomes mostly the first filter on which the universities look at their applicants. So very, very important that you maximize your GRE scores, because this is the standard exam which will help the universities distinguish between different kind of students and applicants. The other part of the application is basically what is non-academic in nature. So if you are applying for MBA or a management program, masters in management, then your internship, your work experience, and your extracurricular is going to be looked at in great detail. And most of the times, these things become game changer and the decisive factors. Reason being, so many applicants apply from India and they have great academic records and really good GRE scores also, that it becomes difficult for universities to purely distinguish between people on academics only. So then they deep dive and start looking at what are the other skill sets that you bring to the table, what kind of extra activities you have done, and then they are able to decide what applications to accept, whether to give you scholarships or not. So if you're applying for a management program, your GRE, academic record, and your internships, work experience with extra activities would be very, very important. On the other hand, if you are looking for a master's program or a PhD program, then your research work becomes the bedrock. What do I mean when I say research work? Research work means any project that you are doing as a part of your curriculum, industrial trainings, summer trainings, paper presentations and publications, very, very important. Even if you are participating on your department level, university level, seminars, symposiums, where you are presenting papers, that will give you a lot of additional points. And if you're able to publish them, then you get even more grades. So if you are looking at a master's or a PhD program for great admissions with scholarships, you must have a very, very good research work displayed in the application. And if you are looking at a management program, then your extracurricular activities and your internships and work experience would be the bedrock for your decisions. Applications abroad are a show and tell competition. Not only do you tell, you also show them that this is what I have done. And for that, universities give you two avenues. One of them is the letters of recommendation, and others is the essays or SOPs. Letters of recommendation are to be taken from your faculty, your research guide, your professors, HODs. They will give you letters of recommendation. Essays or statement of purpose, like they are called, are to be written by yourself, but they are essentially questions about your life. They will be asking you, what have you done till now? Why are you applying to this particular university? Why to that program? And what are your long-term career goals? So you will be given the opportunity to tell your story through these essays and SOPs. And some programs, some universities, they would also want to interview you. So all these things put together, all these criteria put together constitute one application. No single criteria will be able to get you accepted or rejected, right? Very important. This is a pitfall which Indian students fall into, that since we are focused more on academics, we keep on doing GRE, we keep on doing academics, but along with that, you have to invest your time and energy on building your other part of the application, because that is what is going to be probably the game changer. And hence proper time and energy investment has to be done in making a complete holistic application, just not an application which is academically oriented. I will now again want request Shanti ma'am to elaborate more on how does a good GRE score help international applicants. We know GRE is a very important part of the application, but how does it help in international applicants to ace the applications? Shanti ma'am.
Thank you, Arunji. Yeah, that's a great question. And in fact, when you were explaining about the criteria and the application element, you have well addressed the requirement for a good GRE score. So as it was rightly mentioned, GRE is a standardized exam. So wherever you have taken, your score will help the university to understand your ability to crack the numerical and the verbal section of it, and it also has the analytical writing. So if you look at the application that you send to a US university is holistically reviewed. Okay, so they try and understand your academic consistency, or how well have you performed in the various semesters. They try and understand what are those extracurricular activities or the skill sets that you possess that might be really helpful or enhances your profile, plus the way you write your statement of purpose. Besides all this, let's assume that if you are applying for a very strong mathematical oriented program and you have only very limited math oriented courses that you have done in your bachelor's, and you're academically good, but there has to be some way by which the university should understand that you have the ability to work with numbers, right? So that's where your GRE score definitely helps the university to know that you are good at that. Let's look at multiple scenarios. One scenario, let's say that you have a great academic score and a lower GRE score. You have an average SOP and things like that. But if that particular program in the that university has more computational coursework, obviously their expectation is going to be that you definitely have a higher score in the GRE. I would put it this way: GRE is definitely very important as long as the university says that it is mandatory to apply. Even if the university says that GRE scores are optional, what we have seen is if the other elements of your application are not very convincing for the university, and if they are like need some more input to make a decision on your application, even though the GRE is optional, at that point of time, to give you the best advantage to be considered for admission, the university may consider your GRE score and see how your profile is well-rounded, and you may stand on the positive side of getting an admission from the institution. So I would definitely recommend, if you fall short of your academics, then GRE is one way to project that you have the ability. Or if you want to bring in a very competitive application to a university, then also I feel the GRE scores are one way to showcase that you are a great candidate.
Yeah, just to add on, if anybody is having not a great academic record, it becomes all the more important that you maximize your GRE. That will give an indication to the university admission committee that here is a student who is doing good on a standardized test. So like I said, it is not only about having a great academic record, it is about a holistic application. And more importantly, if you are someone with not a great academic record, all the more reason to maximize GRE and build your application in a completely holistic manner. I will now here invite Tanya to come in. Tanya is from ETS. And so Tanya, Tanya, please shed some light on the reporting trends of GRE and make us understand more on how it is being done. Yeah.
Sure, I'll be happy to do that. Can I just share my screen rights?
Yes, yes.
Oh, 1 second. Is my screen visible to all, please?
Yes, Tanya, it's visible.
Okay, so I'm just gonna dive right into it. Your question was for us to understand, for everybody to understand regarding the GRE trends. So in general, we have about 3.5 lakh students who have taken the GRE test in 2020 and 2021. Majority of them, 54% of these were women and 46% were men. Going forward, if you just look at these kind of trends, the general trends have been that most of the students usually apply from any of these fields, whether it is for an undergraduate major field or an intended graduate major field. The majority of students come in from life sciences, physical sciences, social and behavioral sciences, very closely followed by engineering students as well as humanities. There's also a good chunk of students who will take a GRE for their business program aspirations as well. If you also look at the gender, if you look at the age group and gender, majority of the students who are under 23 years and under 25 years, we have majority of the students who will take the test at this age itself, because you're already in an academic mindset. You may have a little bit of work experience, but all the academic backgrounds and academic foundations are fresh in your mind. So this becomes a very good time for a student to take the GRE if you fall under this age group as well. If we also quickly look at the kind of experience students have, we have over 42% of students who, test takers who will have full-time work experience, which is less than 2 years. Very few students, there are enough and more students who will take the test even in their 3rd and 4th year of experience, going on to 5 and 7 years of experience as well. But if you notice this trend, the students who have a higher work experience will have a higher verbal reasoning score, whereas the students who are lower in their work experience, they will have a higher quantitative reasoning scores. So, this is something for everybody to value, to understand where you can provide the most value. Going forward, if you also look at the degree objectives, we do have a great amount of students whose degree objective is to take up a master's program or a specialized master's in business program as well. If you look at MBA, MBA also becomes a very popular course for students. As you see, there are over 13,000 students annually who will apply for an MBA program as well. So these are the general reporting trends about the GRE. I also put together a general structure slide. I don't know if I need to get into this right now, Mr. Arun.
Yeah, so Tanya, just a question that although you displayed that students are applying using GRE scores to management programs also and business masters also, any trend on that? Is it an increasing number, or is it any trend on that? Anything on that you would want to put in?
So from the data points that we currently have, these numbers are definitely increasing. We have more and more students who are applying to international degrees for their master's programs. That said, we all the GRE as well, because we are now strongly working with Indian universities to accept the GRE scores too. So, if you're in a position where you want to stay back and, continue to take up your further studies in an IIT or an IIM, even then the GRE scores work just as well for you to apply in an Indian context as well.
Would you want to name a few programs or a university that you can give example of?
So yes, the IITs, the IIMs, we have several others like Bennett University, Adani University, NMIMS, SP Jain, all of these universities, all of the top of the line ones currently in India, ISB especially, will absolutely accept a GRE score. So, it gives you an opportunity to the students to kind of maximize their pool wherever they want to send out their applications. So, these are a few that I can think of right at this point.
Right. So moving on. Tanya, if I can have the sharing rights, if you can remove the share. Yeah. Okay. So I will now want to, before we get into the Q&A round, I would once again want to invite any one of you, if you want to take a demo class or you want to speak to a counselor regarding your profile, you can leave your number in the chat box. I would also now go into the Q&A section. You can start putting your questions in the Q&A round, in the Q&A box. Before that, Shanti ma'am, anything else you would want to add? Anything else you want to put in? You're mute, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If I may be allowed, I can just give a quick introduction to who we are. I mean,
Sure,
Education
sure.
USA.
Do you want me to get you the screen share?
Yes, sir. Thank
Yeah,
you.
sure.
Thank you so much. Okay. I mentioned in the beginning about Education USA. So I thought I'll just take probably 2 to 3 minutes just to introduce our organization. In India, the Education USA centers are managed by this binational organization called United States India Educational Foundation. In other words, it's USIF. We were established in 1950 through a treaty between the governments of India and United States. The USIF manages 2 programs. So Education USA is one program where we connect with the prospective students, and the other is the Fulbright fellowships. Fulbright fellowships are prestigious fellowships that are awarded to personals who want to do their research in the US, like a doctoral research, or if they want to pursue their professional masters in the US, these fellowships are awarded. They are very highly competitive, and usually they were announced in the beginning of the year. Like, in fact, recently the fellowships have been announced, and the deadlines would invariably fall from May till August. So if you could visit our website usief.org.in, you will find more information about how to apply for these fellowships. And now a quick introduction to Education USA. We are a US State Department supported body, that is US government body. Our mandate is to offer accurate, comprehensive, current and unbiased information on US higher education to prospective students like you. We do not represent a single university. We represent the entire accredited body of institutions in the US, which is around 4,500 plus. In this mission, we have more than 430 plus centers around the world in 170 countries, and in India alone we have 8 centers. I'm from the Chennai center that's managed by the USIF, and USIF also manages centers at Hyderabad, Kolkata, Mumbai, and New Delhi. We also have 3 independent centers located at the cities Bengaluru, Ahmedabad, and one another center at Hyderabad, managed by not-for-profit organizations. We recommend 5 steps to US study to students. And if you would like to know more about what is this 5 step is all about, I invite you all to visit this website, educationusa.state.gov, which is like a well-defined step for somebody to go through the application process to US universities. We offer a lot of services to students. Most of our services are free, in the sense we conduct a lot of webinars, we conduct everyday orientation sessions, and currently most of us are working from home. All our sessions are virtual, and we hope eventually in the future, if it opens up, most of our centers are located either at a US consulate or near the consulate or the embassy, and we have American centers that hold a big library and which has a lot of sources for students to access. And we also offer some individual memberships which you can inquire if you are interested to. These are the contact information of our various centers located in India, and feel free to connect with a center that's near to you. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk about Education USA, Arunji. And I think now we can go ahead with the session.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that information. So we will now go into the Q&A round, and I can see a lot of questions. So I will start taking them one by one. So there is a question which says that when you were explaining the courses, ma'am, You gave a lot of options in terms of the courses. In the slide that I can recollect again, the student has asked information about design-oriented computer science specialization. Can they do that?
Yes, of course. I mean, I don't know a particular university that offers the program, because this is something definitely possible, because there are design programs, and within design, the students can choose what is the specialization that they want to go for. And I'm sure you need to do a lot of your research. There are 4,500 plus accredited institutions in the US. So do conduct a diligent research, and there are several dedicated search engines that you can use, like gradschools.com, petersons.com. And by way of giving at least the some of the either one portion of the program or the entire program by itself, you will probably get to see institutions that offer the program that you are mentioning. At this point, I would also like to tell the students, sometimes the name of a program could be so different at an institution. Say a typical computer science program may come under sometimes an electrical engineering department, or the computer science itself may have a different name in that in some universities. So I again and again urge students to look for first the departments, and within the departments you can find out what are those master programs that they offer, and accordingly you can decide whether that's the program that you want to study. Because a general computer science, sometimes what happens, may have courses about cybersecurity, it may have something to do with the artificial intelligence, it may have something to do with machine learning. It can be probably a very generic program, or the university will give you an option to take up to 14 credits, the specialization of your choice. So whatever it is, unless and until you go deep into the departmental website, sometimes these information may not be typically available for you through a search engine or so.
Okay, so we have one question where again it's a course specific question, where student is asking that how can I go for masters in USA after completing bachelor's of civil engineering? He has also done diploma in civil engineering.
Okay, I would like to understand whether is the student talking about a lateral entry to the engineering program. So let's say that you finished up to your 10th grade or 12th grade, you took a 3-year diploma program, and then through a lateral entry, you went to a engineering school and completed. If so, absolutely possible. The universities do understand the lateral entry program that Indian students showcase. But sometimes what happens when you have that, they may ask you to evaluate your credentials to make sure that the bachelor's degree that you have earned in India is equal to the bachelor's degree in the US, so that you are eligible to directly apply for a master's program. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, right. Ma'am, one question related to applications, that do universities consider work experience at NGO or social work, and does it add any value to the application?
Okay, that's interesting, and also the most common question. See, this is something I would say, when it comes under a holistic profile, they definitely take a look at what you have done. They want to see what are the other activities you have carried out. That definitely is a plus point to your profile. But whether does it have the relevance to the program that you are applying is something that the university will take a call on it. Or whatever you have done, if you feel that the work is related to the program you are applying, definitely I would say it's an additional plus point. If not, it definitely showcases that the versatile profile that you are going to submit to the university. One more thing I would like to add at this point is, having a work experience or not having a work experience when you are submitting an application entirely depends upon the requirement that is set by the university. One example, let's take this most popular program like an engineering management or a supply chain management. There are universities where we have seen that they definitely require a year-long experience. Sometimes they specify the field, sometimes they don't specify. They say relevant experience for a year or so, to apply for this program. Whereas the same program at another university might say that work experience is optional. So we would recommend that the student definitely takes into account, first understand all the requirements set by those universities, and you see which one you really completely fulfill. If you fulfill that requirement, we recommend that that could be your best fit institution, and you can go ahead applying to that. So there is no one answer for all universities. Okay, it all depends on the individual university's requirement for it.
Right, ma'am. Tanya, if you can answer the next one, it asks, somebody's asked, in what way does a GRE score hold an upper edge over a GMAT score for a good B school, both in US and in India?
That's an interesting question. Thank you for asking that one. So as you know, as a representative of GRE, I think the only thing I would say to a student is whichever test gives you a better score is the best option for you. And for you to even determine, which test you would do the best at, we always recommend students to take a practice test. And based on your comfort on any of the tests, that becomes the right test for you. In terms of preferences of the universities, just in the US, we have over 1,300 business schools that accept the GRE score. And we have over 87 institutions in India as well who will accept a GRE score. So as a student, one part of your research could be to firstly check in out of your dream colleges, whichever of these ones will accept a score and what their cutoff is. So, that kind of puts things in order for you, and then you can determine, which score works the best for you.
One question in extension to this is that what is considered as a good GRE score to get an admit in top 50 universities? If you can shed some light on that.
So, there is a bit of a story around this. So as GRE, as the test makers, we do not have any cutoffs or any such limits that we put on a score, because we take the score as individual sections only. Sometimes we see students tending to combine it, and they say out of 340, my score should be a 320 or a 305. But as GRE, as the test makers, we do not make that consolidation. We let the scores go as is. Now, in terms of figuring out what would be a good cutoff, this again is the university's prerogative, depending on what courses they want to, interview you for. So, at a position as GRE, we don't, give out any such, mandates. It's the colleges or the university's prerogative to do that.
Right. Thank you so much for that. I have a question again for Shanti ma'am now, where a student is asking that I want to pursue masters in economics with a further plan for PhD. What things should I do to make my profile strong?
That's interesting. I presume currently are you economics? Are you doing your economics bachelor's, or you have a deep knowledge in the subject, which is either exhibited through some coursework or some work experience? And I think these put together definitely helps you to, of course, with a great GRE score, helps you to apply for a master's program. And then eventually you can move on to the PhD either in the same university or at a different university. Whenever we talk about a PhD program, it is most of the time required that the student exhibit a great research skill. So if you want to have that in your profile, you must choose a master. So most of you might know that the MS in US has two different tracks. One is called non-thesis masters. The other one is called thesis masters. If a student is more keen to definitely pursue a PhD, either immediately after a master's or at a later stage, it is recommended that they go through this thesis track. In the thesis track, what happens, apart from completing all the required coursework by 3 semesters, typically if it is a 2-year master's program, the last semester would be meant exclusively for doing a research and also present your dissertation and defend your research as well. the idea behind this is it gives the student what they have learned, and they form a hypothesis, and then they do a research about it, and they are able to sort of gain that experience of conducting a research, how it is being conducted, how should I set my problem statement, and how do I really represent my solution, etc. Though the experience is only for one semester, that gives them the complete understanding of research as a component, right? So those students getting an admission to a PhD program is also at a higher side, because most of the PhD programs definitely requires a research background, and they also encourage that you must have paper publications. So your publications, if they are either peer reviewed or they are presented in journals, probably along with your professor under whom you had either done the research or you had associated with the professor exclusively to publish the paper. All these things are important profiles for a PhD program, because PhD is a very, I would say, a committed track of learning. And for this commitment, the number of students the university admits are also very, very minimal. It's not like a master's program where if they 1,000 students are admitted, a PhD program will have only handful of students, because under each professor there may be limitations as to only 4 students can work or 5 students can work, etc. So considering the nature of a PhD program, it's very serious, it's more committed, and it requires great academic standing and also research experience. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for the detailed response. Next one is for Tanya. Tanya, you were showing data about different programs. This student wants to know, do you have any data regarding students applying for Masters in Food Sciences?
Well, we wouldn't have it as narrowed down like that. We just have a very high level view of these reportings where we just get a general understanding of, majority of the students, which field they come from. So, life sciences, social sciences, and behavioral sciences are one of the big ones, followed by engineering, arts, and business. So
Right.
I hope that answers.
Right. Thank you. Okay, some of you want the H-1B part to be explained again. So let me explain it again. So H-1B visa is given once a year through a lottery. Currently, 85,000 visas are given by United States every year, and close to 60% of these visas are coming to Indians. So when I explained about H-1B, I also told about the advantage of doing a STEM program. Now, when you do a non-STEM program, you get a 12 months OPT, optional practical training period, where you can stay back in US. But when you do a STEM program, you get additional 24 months. That means if you do a STEM program, you can stay back in United States for 3 years. And how does it impact the H-1B visa and jobs? So if I am a student who is a non-STEM student, I will go into a H-1B lottery once because my OPT is 1 year or 12 months. And if you are a student who has done, let's say, a master's in business analytics, which is a STEM tagged program, your OPT is 36 months, which is 3 years. Hence, you will be allowed to go into the H-1B lottery 3 times because you are in the OPT of 3 years. So you get 3 chances to get into a H-1B lottery as compared to a non-STEM student who gets only 1 chance. And hence your chances as a STEM student to get a H-1B visa are 3 times more as compared to a non-STEM student. So I hope that answers this question. We are almost at the end of the time. I'll take quickly few questions more. So this one is asking best time to choose universities before or after GRE. I don't know who wants to take that. Maybe Shanti ma'am or Tanya both can answer that. Best time to choose universities before or after GRE.
Oops. Yes. Shantina, would you like to go with this one?
No, you can go first. I'll follow you.
Well, in a very general sense, I can say since the test is valid for 5 years, it's really up to you as to when you feel you're most comfortable with the tests. The one point that we usually will tell students is ensure that you have your deadlines in place. Whatever university application deadlines are coming along, ensure you have your test scores in your hand much in advance to avoid any last minute hiccups and delays. That's how I would say it. Your take.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. Okay, there are two things to it. I mean, I do agree with Tanya on that, but sometimes what happens, okay, let us look at the one economic point of view when you're doing this. So when you're writing GRE, at the end of it, you can declare your score free for 4 universities. Am I right, Tanya?
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of students do not want to miss out on this opportunity. So they judiciously start working on selecting universities, if not the entire list, at least they have, let's say 2 or 3 universities to whom they definitely want to apply. So you can narrow down that bit and then use the score to be sent to those 4 universities. Again, this is a student choice. Even if you are not ready with any university listing, you could just still take the exam, because sometimes what happens, there is a dilemma. The first time the student writes and the score is not up to their expectation, obviously they want to go back and write, probably they want to write one more time or so. So many students get this, I think it is a myth sometimes, because they feel like, oh, if I have already reported my first score and which is very low, and in the second time I've got a better score, but I did not report to that university, is it going to affect my admission? And will the university think that I've taken the exam, GRE exam more than one time, etc.? So I think that bit of the question you can answer, Tanya, but I would recommend you need to make your call clear, whether you want to first work on the list and then take the GRE, or vice versa.
Yes, that's very well said, Shanti ma'am. That said, just to add to your point around the universities thinking, no, that's really not the case. Usually, as per our own internal surveys, we find that students who take the test more than once end up doing far better. I end up getting far better scores. And as a test maker, GRE, what we do is we give students the freedom at the time of score submission, whether to send any of the scores, all of the scores, or none of the scores. So if supposing you want to submit the scores on test day, then you have an option to send the last reported score or all of your scores. But say you've not fully made up your mind and you feel like reporting after test day, then you have the option to choose either any of your scores, all of your scores, or the best of your scores. You have that option to do that for an additional cost. So then and no university is sitting around to judge these kind of things. If you have a good score and if it matches their profile, that's it, you will stand a good chance regardless.
I just want to add on to this, as per our experience goes, the best time to take a GRE is when you are still a student. It is easier to prepare for an exam like GRE while you are still studying, because when you go into jobs, for example, if you want to do a program which asks you for 3 to 4 years of work ex, or maybe you want to improve your profile just by doing work ex, still the advice from us to students would be take your GRE in your student time, probably first or second year, because it is easier to prepare for these exams when you are a student. When you go into jobs, you have full-time job commitments, it becomes difficult to give the time required to prepare for GRE, right? Also, the time limit that the validity is there 5 years, so it helps you to start your GRE prep earlier, get a good GRE score, and maybe then start off looking at the universities. Or some students do other ways also, they aim for universities and then build on the profile. So it can be done both ways, but our suggestion would be do your GRE when you are still in your first or second year. Don't wait for long, it becomes difficult from when you are a working professional. We are almost at the end of the time allotted. I'll just take last 2 questions. So here is a student who is asking about if I have time to do only one of these, which could be more beneficial for getting an admit, research work or internship? Shanti ma'am, if you could throw some light on it.
I'm sorry, I think I kind of lost your voice.
I'll
Could you
repeat
please
again.
repeat? Yeah.
Yeah, it says that if I have time to do only one of these, which could be more beneficial for getting an admit for masters, research work or internship?
I think it is subjective. Both have definitely both are a good profile builders, I would say. But considering the nature of the program that you are going to apply, say master's level, the internship would add more value compared to the research, but it doesn't mean that the research doesn't have a value. If you are given an option to take only from one of them, first compare both. What is the outcome of doing that internship, or what is the outcome of doing the research, which gives you a better authority on the subject, or which gives you a better exposure to say a concept or a solution. On that note, you can decide and take that choice and apply for your master's program.
And ma'am, there is a follow-up question also, similar kind of question, which says, how many of research paper being published in journals would be considered sufficient? Any ballpark idea on that?
Yeah, I don't think there is such sort of criteria set by universities. But I think by and large, they look at the depth of the subject dealt in those publications, and along with whom you have worked, and how well the content is represented.
You know, the impact factor of your research is very important. If it,
exactly, yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter if you are published in
Yes.
5 journals. If your impact of the research is not that great, it would not make much difference in comparison to even one journal being published, which is of a greater impact value. So that's important when you look at. Okay, one last question before we end. So a question is being asked that should we apply to university, or should we send emails to guide or professors under whom we want to do our research?
Yeah, always for PhD students, we first recommend identify the universities, take a deep dive into the department, read the professor's profile, see the kind of research that they are doing, whether is any of them matches with your research interest. Then write to the professor, make a connect with them, and invariably after the connect only you will we recommend that the student apply to that university, because as I mentioned earlier, the PhD programs do not take too many students, right? So they limit it, and the professors also look for students who can really work in tandem with them. So on that note, we feel or I would rather say that this is a best practice, that if you are applying for a PhD program, make a connect with a professor in that particular department, and then have a conversation with them and understand how feasible is it to apply for a PhD program there. Oftentimes we get this feedback from the students because it helps them a lot, and many professors do give them appointments, so they discuss in detail before applying for a program. So for PhD, you must connect with a concerned professor first and then apply.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, Tanya, for taking out the time. And a big thank you to all the participants who took out time to join. Apologies if we have missed out on questions to be answered. A lot of you asked questions related to your particular profile, the university options or the profile related questions. Please put in your numbers in the chat box if you have not already done so. We will connect back with you to help you discuss with the counselor. Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Shanti ma'am, for the for the time you all put in here. And I hope the session was informative and value for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Arun, for this
everyone.
great
Thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Keep safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.